My name is Captain Javier Mendoza, and on June 22nd, 1976, I was the commanding officer of the Spanish Navy corvette Atrevida. I was 34 years old. I'd spent 12 years in the Armada Española, patrolling the waters off the Canary Islands. I'd seen Soviet submarines, NATO exercises, drug runners, and everything the Atlantic could throw at a 300-ton warship. I was trained to be calm, analytical, to trust my instruments and my crew. Nothing in those 12 years prepared me for what happened 3.5 nautical miles off Punta Lantaya, Fuerteventura Island, at precisely 21:27 hours. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It was a Tuesday. Franco's Spain was 7 months away from its first democratic elections since the Civil War. The country was changing, slowly tearing itself free from dictatorship. But out here, in the waters between Africa and the volcanic islands, politics seemed distant. What mattered was the sea, the ship, and keeping our patrol route clean. June in the Canaries is beautiful. Warm winds, clear skies, the kind of night where you can see stars stretching from horizon to horizon without a single cloud to interrupt them. We'd been at sea for 6 days, standard patrol. My crew of 23 men were experienced sailors. Lieutenant Raul Vega, my first officer, had been with me for 3 years. Sonar technician First Class Miguel Torres could identify a fishing trawler by its engine signature alone. Radar operator Esteban Cruz had eyes like a hawk, could spot a contact at 30 kilometers. We were professionals. We didn't spook easily. That evening, we'd observed several fishing vessels operating in the usual zones. The Maria Dolores out of Las Palmas, the San Miguel from Tenerife, and a smaller boat, a 14-meter trawler called La Esperanza, home-ported in the village of Morojable on Fuerteventura's southern coast. She was crewed by 3 men, brothers Antonio and Carlos Hidalgo, and their cousin, Manuel Ortega. I'd seen La Esperanza dozens of times over the years. Good fishermen, careful sailors. At 20:45 hours, I was on the bridge reviewing navigation charts when Torres called up from the sonar station. "Captain, La Esperanza is heading west-northwest, away from the fishing grounds." I checked our position. We were holding station off Punta Lantaya. La Esperanza should have been heading back to port by now. They usually worked until sunset, then made the 3-hour run home. "Acknowledged," I said. "Probably found a good spot. Monitor and log it." It was routine. Fishing boats sometimes chase schools into deeper water, but it wasn't routine. At 21:15 hours, Cruz called out from radar, "Captain, I've lost La Esperanza." I walked over to the radar station. The green sweep showed our contacts clearly. Maria Dolores to the north, San Miguel heading southeast. But the contact that had been La Esperanza was gone. "Equipment malfunction?" I asked. Cruz tapped the screen, checked his settings. "No, sir. She was there at 21:12. Then she just disappeared. No fade, no gradual loss of signal. One sweep she was there, the next she wasn't. Could they have gone dead in the water? Engine failure? Should still show on passive return, Captain. The hull's steel. Even with no power, she'd reflect." Lieutenant Vega joined us at the radar station. "Want me to radio them?" "Try it." Vega moved to the communications console and keyed the marine band. "Fishing vessel La Esperanza. This is Spanish Navy corvette Atrevida. Do you copy?" "Over." Static. "La Esperanza. This is Atrevida. Please respond." "Over." Nothing but the hiss of empty frequency. Vega tried the emergency channel. Still nothing. "Could be radio failure," he said, but his voice carried doubt. "Torres? Anything on sonar?" I called down. "Negative, Captain. No acoustic signature in that sector at all." This was wrong. A fishing boat doesn't just vanish from radar and sonar simultaneously, not unless it sinks. But we'd had calm seas all day, barely a 2-meter swell. La Esperanza was old, but seaworthy. The Hidalgo brothers had been fishing these waters for 20 years. "Come about," I ordered. "Set course for La Esperanza's last known position. All hands to ready stations. This is a potential search and rescue situation." The Atrevida's engines rumbled up to full power. We carved through the dark water, heading west-northwest, toward where La Esperanza had disappeared. We never found them. But 12 minutes later, at exactly 21:27 hours, we found something else. "Captain," Cruz's voice was tight. "Contact bearing 270, low altitude approaching from shore." I raised my binoculars toward the island. At first, I saw nothing but the dark outline of Fuerteventura against the stars. Then I saw it. A light, intensely bright, yellowish blue, like an arc welder magnified 1,000 times. It was moving toward us from the direction of the island, rising steadily. My first thought, my trained, rational first thought, was aircraft. Could be a plane with landing lights on, Vega said beside me. He was thinking the same thing. But something was off. The light wasn't moving like an aircraft. It was rising too slowly, too deliberately. No aircraft climbs at that angle unless it's in a stall, and this thing was completely stable. Cruise, radar confirmation? Negative, Captain. I'm not seeing anything. I lowered the binoculars and looked at him. What do you mean you're not seeing anything? We can all see the light. Sir, I understand that, but my radar is clear. No contact at that bearing. No contact anywhere except the fishing vessels to the north. The light continued to rise. It reached what I estimated to be 15 to 18 degrees above the horizon, maybe 3 kilometers away, and then it stopped. Just stopped. Hovering. Stationary. Aircraft don't do that. All stop, I ordered. The Atrevida's engines died to idle. We drifted on the swell, everyone on the bridge staring at that impossible light. Then it went out. For maybe 5 seconds, there was only darkness and stars. I heard one of my men exhale, a sound of relief. Whatever it was over. That's when the rotation started. From the same spot where the light had been, a beam appeared, brilliant white, narrow, sweeping in circles like a lighthouse. But there was no lighthouse there. We were 3.5 nautical miles offshore, staring at empty sky. The beam rotated for approximately 2 minutes. Then it, too, went dark. Madre de Dios, someone whispered behind me. The halo appeared. It started as a dim glow, then expanded outward in a perfect circle, yellowish blue light spreading like spilled oil across the sky. Within seconds, it was enormous, maybe a kilometer in diameter, a vast luminous ring hanging in the air where nothing should be. And it wasn't fading. It just hung there, pulsing slightly, bright enough that I could read the navigation charts on the bridge without switching on a lamp. Bright enough that it illuminated parts of the ocean surface below it, turning the black Atlantic silver. Cruise, I said quietly. Tell me you're seeing this on radar now. No, Captain. His voice shook. Radar is completely clear. Sonar is clear. According to our instruments, there's nothing there. But there was something there. We could all see it. 23 men, professional sailors, every one of us staring at a phenomenon that couldn't exist. I grabbed the radio handset. Any vessel in the vicinity of Fuerteventura Island. This is Spanish Navy vessel Atrevida. Do you observe unusual aerial phenomena bearing approximately 270 from our position? Over. For a moment, nothing. Then the radio crackled. Atrevida, this is Maria Dolores. We see it. What the hell is that thing? So we weren't hallucinating. Multiple independent observers. Maria Dolores, maintain your position and document. We're investigating. Investigating? The voice from Maria Dolores rose an octave. Captain, with respect, you should be running. That thing is... The transmission cut to static. Maria Dolores, repeat your last. Over. Nothing. Maria Dolores, do you copy? Dead air. Vega tried the emergency frequency, tried the international distress channel, tried the standard marine band. Every frequency returned the same hissing emptiness. Captain, Torres called up from below. Sonar's acting strange. I'm getting interference patterns I've never seen before, like something's jamming us, but it's not electromagnetic, it's physical. The water's vibrating. Vibrating? I don't know how else to describe it, sir. Low-frequency oscillation, building in intensity. I could feel it now. A deep humming that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, below the threshold of hearing but felt in the chest, in the bones. The deck plates beneath my feet were trembling. The halo grew brighter. I raised my binoculars again. Through the lenses, I could see structure within the light, not solid, but geometric patterns, angles that seemed to shift and reconfigure. Watching it made my head ache, made my eyes water. Lieutenant, I said to Vega, break out the camera, document everything. He disappeared into the chart room and returned with our 35mm Nikon, started shooting through the bridge windows, rapid shutter clicks in the darkness. The halo remained perfectly stationary for 40 minutes. 40 minutes of impossible light, 40 minutes of dead communications, 40 minutes of that bone-deep vibration that made 3 of my men nauseous and sent another to vomit over the rail. I kept waiting for it to move, to change, to do something, but it just hung there, as if it had all the time in the world, as if time meant nothing to whatever was producing it. "Captain," Cruz's voice was barely a whisper. "Sir, you need to see this." I walked to the radar station. He pointed at the screen with a shaking finger. Where there had been nothing, there was now a contact, but not like any contact I'd ever seen. The return was massive, showing an object the size of a naval frigate, hanging in midair exactly where the halo was visible. But that wasn't what made Cruz's hand shake. The contact had no mass. Our radar calculates approximate mass based on return strength and size. It's how we distinguish a fishing boat from a cargo ship, a yacht from a container vessel. The object in the sky was showing the dimensions of something that should weigh thousands of tons. According to the radar, it weighed less than 50 kilograms. "That's impossible," I said. "Yes, sir." It hung there until 22:07 hours. Then, without warning, without sound, without any transition at all, the halo contracted. The light pulled inward, collapsing like a dying star, shrinking from a kilometer-wide circle to a single bright point in less than 3 seconds. And then it was gone. Just gone. The stars returned. The ocean was black again. The vibration in my chest faded away. Communications came back online immediately. Maria Dolores calling urgently, 2 other vessels reporting in, shore stations requesting status updates. I stood on the bridge of the Atrevida, surrounded by instruments that had failed to explain what we'd just witnessed, and tried to think of what to report. Before I could formulate the words, Torres called up from sonar. "Captain, I have something. Acoustic contact, bearing 265, approximately 2 kilometers. It's metallic. Hull signature consistent with a small fishing vessel." My heart dropped. "La Esperanza?" Checking. "Yes, sir. It matches the acoustic profile of La Esperanza. But, sir..." "What?" "She's not moving. Dead in the water. And, Captain, there's something else." "Say it." "The hull's warm. I'm picking up thermal bloom. Whatever that thing was, it was right above them." We reached La Esperanza at 22:34 hours. I've thought about that moment every day for nearly 50 years. I still see it when I close my eyes. The fishing boat was intact, engine off, drifting on the swell, navigation lights still functioning. The radio antenna was extended. They'd been trying to communicate with someone. The nets were deployed over the stern, still in the water, heavy with the night's catch. But the boat was empty. I took a boarding party across in our motor launch, Vega, Torres, and 3 armed seamen. I don't know why I ordered them armed. What good would small arms do against something that could make a kilometer-wide halo in the sky? But some part of my training insisted, unknown situation, potential threat, weapons ready. We came alongside La Esperanza. Torres secured the launch while I climbed aboard with Vega. The deck was wrong, not damaged, not disturbed, just wrong. The catch was still in the nets. 500 kilos of sardines and mackerel, fresh and cold. The work lights were on. A cigarette was lying in the scupper, burned down to the filter. 3 coffee mugs sat on the bench by the wheelhouse, still half full. One of them was still warm. "They were here minutes ago," Vega whispered. The wheelhouse door was open. I stepped inside. The radio was on, tuned to the marine band. The engine telegraph was set to stop. The logbook was open on the chart table. I looked down at the last entry, written in Antonio Hidalgo's careful handwriting, 21:22, unusual light observed to the east. Attempting to radio Coast Guard, radio not functioning, light growing brighter. Manuel says we should... The entry ended mid-sentence. The pen was still on the page, a small ink blot where it had been dropped. "Search the entire vessel," I ordered. "Every compartment, every locker, find them." We searched La Esperanza for 40 minutes. 3 men can't hide on a 14-meter fishing boat. There's nowhere to go. Small wheelhouse, open deck, tiny engine compartment below. We looked everywhere. They weren't there. Antonio Hidalgo, Carlos Hidalgo, Manuel Ortega, vanished. But it wasn't just that they were gone. It was how they were gone. In the forecastle, we found 3 life jackets hanging on their hooks. If the crew had gone overboard, they'd have grabbed the life jackets. In the wheelhouse, we found 3 rain jackets on pegs, 3 personal knives in a drawer, 3 pairs of work gloves. Everything was where it should be. Except the men. Torres found something that made my skin crawl. On the deck beside the wheelhouse, there were 3 sets of wet footprints, bare feet. They'd taken their boots off, which fishermen often did to get better grip on wet decks. The footprints led from the stern, where they'd been working the nets, toward the bow. But they didn't stop at the rail. They didn't end anywhere. They just faded, like whoever made them had walked forward and then simply ceased to exist. Captain Torres was kneeling by the footprints, holding a Geiger counter we'd brought from the Atrevida. "Sir, I'm getting readings. Radiation. Not dangerous levels, but it's here. Consistent with what? With reports from other cases. UFO landing sites. Close encounter locations. This signature. It's not natural background radiation. It's something else." Vega was at the rail, shining a flashlight down into the water. "No bodies," he called. "If they'd fallen overboard, they'd still be floating. Water's calm, visibility's good. There's nothing." I stood on the deck of La Esperanza, feeling the fishing boat rock gently on the swell, and tried to make sense of what we'd found. 3 experienced fishermen, their boat intact, their work unfinished, their coffee still warm, gone. I keyed my radio to contact the Atrevida. "This is Mendoza. Secure the fishing vessel for tow. No sign of crew. Repeat, no sign of crew. Vessel appears abandoned within the last 30 minutes. Prepare to return to port for full investigation." As we attached tow lines to La Esperanza, I looked up at the stars. They seemed colder now, more distant. The sky had always been infinite, but tonight it felt hostile, as if something up there was watching, waiting, studying us like insects under glass. What had taken them? Where had they gone? And most terrifying of all, were they still alive? What I didn't know, what none of us knew, was that while we'd been observing the phenomenon at sea, the entire Canary Islands were watching the same thing. The reports started coming in as we towed La Esperanza back toward Fuerteventura. At 21:30 hours, just 3 minutes after we'd first seen the light, hundreds of people across Gran Canaria, Tenerife, La Palma, and La Gomera had reported a massive luminous phenomenon in the western sky. The descriptions matched what we'd seen: intense yellow-blue light, rotation, then the enormous halo. But some witnesses reported something more. Dr. Francisco Padrón León was a physician in the town of Guia on Gran Canaria. At 21:27, he'd been riding in a taxi to see a patient in Las Rosas, driven by a man named Santiago del Pino. As they rounded a bend on the coastal road, their headlights illuminated something in the middle of the road. A sphere, transparent, crystalline, 30 meters in radius, hovering just above the ground. Dr. Padrón's testimony, which I read weeks later in the official Spanish Air Force investigation, was precise and detailed. He was a medical professional, trained observer, skeptical by nature. His description made my blood run cold. The sphere was transparent enough to see stars through it. Inside, on a platform in the lower third, were 2 figures, not human, 8 to 10 feet tall, dressed in tight-fitting red suits that looked almost like diving equipment, helmets, working at a control panel made of reflective metallic material. The taxi driver saw them too. So did the family waiting at the house in Las Rosas. Their television went dead seconds before Dr. Padrón knocked on the door. When they looked outside, they confirmed everything: the sphere, the beings, the electric blue glow. Dr. Padrón watched as the sphere began to expand. A blue gas or fluid seemed to flow through transparent tubes within the structure, and the entire object grew, from 30 meters to the size of a 20-story building. The beings inside and their control panel remained the same size. Then, with a high-pitched whistle that made his ears ring, the sphere shot away toward Tenerife and disappeared. Multiple witnesses, different locations, all describing the same thing: a craft with occupants. The Spanish Air Force investigation, commanded by the commanding general of the Canaries Air Zone, concluded that something extraordinary had occurred on June 22nd. The report, which would be classified until 1994, stated, "The fact that a very strange and peculiar aerial phenomena occurred on the night of 22nd June is a true and proven fact, as incredible as its behavior and conditions may seem." But the report said nothing about La Esperanza, nothing about 3 missing fishermen. Because when we returned to port at 3:15 on June 23rd, military police were waiting for us. Not Coast Guard, not civilian authorities. Military police with orders from Madrid. We were debriefed separately. Each member of my crew questioned for hours. Our camera film was confiscated. Our radar logs were removed. The Geiger counter readings were taken, and we were told, in very clear terms, that the matter was now classified under national security protocols. The fishing vessel was found adrift due to engine failure, a colonel from military intelligence told me in a bare room at the naval base. The crew apparently took the life raft and were later recovered by a passing freighter. They're being treated for exposure and will be released to their families within the week. That's not true, I said. There was no life raft deployment. The davits showed no Captain Mendoza. The colonel's voice was ice. I'm telling you what the official record will state. Do you understand? I understand that 3 men are missing and we're being told to lie about it. You're being told to protect national security. Spain is in a delicate transition. We cannot have mass panic about unexplained phenomena, especially not with Soviet submarines in these waters, NATO watching our every move, and the Polisario insurgency in the Sahara. The official explanation is engine failure and crew recovery. And if I refuse to sign off on that? The colonel leaned forward. Then your career in the Navy ends today. Psychological fitness concerns, perhaps substance abuse, will make sure you never command a fishing dinghy, much less a warship. And your crew? Same treatment. 23 men who'll never work again. I signed the statement. So did every member of my crew. La Esperanza was towed to a naval facility and, according to official records, scrapped for salvage 3 weeks later. I tried to follow up, to find out what happened to her, but the paper trail was deliberately obscured. The boat simply disappeared from all documentation. Just like her crew. The Hidalgo family, Antonio and Carlos's mother, their wives, their children, was told that their men had died in an accident at sea, swept overboard in a sudden squall, bodies never recovered. The government provided death certificates and survivor benefits. Manuel Ortega's widow received the same news. Same story, same lie. I wanted to tell them the truth. I rehearsed it 100 times. But what truth could I tell? That I'd found their husband's boat intact and empty? That we'd witnessed something impossible in the sky? That I believed, that I knew, they'd been taken by something not of this earth? What comfort is that to a widow? To a child asking where their father went? So I said nothing. I retired from the Spanish Navy in 1991, 15 years after that night. I'd made captain of a frigate, served with distinction, kept my mouth shut about June 22, 1976. In 1994, when the Spanish Air Force declassified their UFO files, I read the full investigation report of the Canary Islands incident. Hundreds of pages. Testimony from 14 primary witnesses. Dr. Padrón's detailed account of the transparent sphere. The Navy's report from the Atrevida. Radar data. Photographs. The conclusion was unambiguous. An unidentified aerial phenomenon had been observed by multiple credible witnesses across the islands. The objects displayed flight characteristics and physical properties that could not be explained by known aircraft or natural phenomena. But there was no mention of La Esperanza, no mention of Antonio and Carlos Hidalgo or Manuel Ortega. 3 men who vanished that night while something impossible hung in the sky above them had been erased from the official record. I'm 79 years old now. Most of my crew from the Atrevida are dead. Lieutenant Vega passed away in 2003. Torres died in 2015. Cruz in 2019. They all kept the secret, just as I did. But I'm the last one left, and I'm tired of lying. In 2018, I returned to Fuerteventura for the first time in decades. I drove to Morro Jable, to the harbor where La Esperanza used to berth. The dock is still there. The village has grown. More tourists now, more development. But the old-timers remember. I found Elena Hidalgo, Antonio's daughter. She was 56 years old when I met her. She'd been 14 when her father disappeared. She invited me to her home, served me coffee, and showed me a photograph. Antonio, Carlos, and Manuel on the deck of La Esperanza, smiling, holding up a massive tuna they'd caught. They were good men, she said. Good fishermen. My father knew that sea better than anyone. I know, I said. The government said it was a squall, but June 22nd was a calm night. Everyone remembers. No storms, no rough seas. The official story never made sense. I looked at her. She had her father's eyes. I was there. I said quietly. "I commanded the Atrevida. We were the ones who found your father's boat." Her hand went to her mouth. "You were..." "It wasn't a squall, Elena. Your father and your uncles didn't drown. They didn't fall overboard." "Then what happened to them?" I told her everything. The light from the shore, the halo, the dead communications, finding La Esperanza intact, coffee still warm, footprints that led nowhere, the radiation readings, the military police, the threats, the cover-up. When I finished, she was crying. "Where are they?" she whispered. "Where did they go?" "I don't know, but I believe, Elena, I believe they were taken by whatever made that light. The same thing Dr. Padrón saw, the sphere with the beings inside. Your father was directly beneath it when we lost contact with his boat, and when we found La Esperanza, the hull was radiating heat. Something had been there, something had been above them. Are they alive?" It was the question I'd been asking myself for 42 years. "I want to believe they are," I said. "I want to believe that wherever they went, they're somewhere, that it wasn't just oblivion, that there was purpose to it." But I didn't know. I still don't know. Elena keeps her father's photograph on her wall. Sometimes she lights a candle beneath it. She told me she used to be angry, at the sea, at God, at her father for being careless. Now she's just sad. "At least I know the truth now," she said. "Thank you for telling me." But is the truth better? I'm not sure. In November 1976, 5 months after the initial incident, the commanding general of the Canaries Air Zone, General Carlos Doles de Espejo, was aboard a T-12 transport plane when he and his entire crew observed another massive halo phenomenon in the night sky. The crew of a Spanish Navy training ship reported it simultaneously. Personnel at Gando Air Base confirmed visual contact. The sightings continued throughout 1976, throughout 1977. They haven't stopped. In the years since, other boats have gone missing in the waters around the Canary Islands. Other crews have vanished without explanation. Official reports always find mundane causes: equipment failure, human error, unfortunate weather. The truth gets buried under paperwork and bureaucratic dismissal. But I was there. I saw what happened. I saw a phenomenon that violated every law of physics. I saw a fishing boat with 3 men aboard, and then I saw that boat empty, the men gone, as if they'd been plucked from reality itself. I saw the radiation readings. I saw the footprints that led nowhere. And I know, with absolute certainty, that we are not alone in this universe. Something came to the Canary Islands on June 22, 1976. Something that could create light without heat, could hover without propulsion, could make itself invisible to radar while remaining visible to the human eye. Something that could reach down and take 3 men from their boat without leaving a trace. The Spanish government wants you to believe it was weather phenomena, atmospheric refraction, ball lightning, mass hallucination. The United States Navy later released files suggesting the June incident might have been a Poseidon missile test from a submarine in the Atlantic. But that doesn't explain Dr. Padrón's encounter. It doesn't explain the transparent sphere with occupants. It doesn't explain the 40-minute stationary halo. It doesn't explain 3 missing fishermen. I'm 79 years old. My health is failing. Within a year or 2, I'll be gone. But before I go, I needed to tell this story. I needed someone to know what really happened to Antonio Hidalgo, Carlos Hidalgo, and Manuel Ortega. They didn't drown. They weren't careless. They didn't make mistakes. They were taken. And somewhere, maybe on another world, maybe in another dimension, maybe in a place we can't even conceptualize, they might still exist. They might still be alive, wondering if anyone remembers them, wondering if anyone's looking for them. I remember. Elena remembers. The sea remembers. The sky over the Canary Islands is beautiful at night, stars stretching to infinity, the Milky Way spilling across the darkness like spilled milk. It's easy to look up and feel wonder, feel hope, feel the promise of what might be out there. But I look up and I remember. I remember the light. I remember the halo. I remember 3 empty coffee mugs on the deck of a boat that should have had men aboard. And I wonder, how many others? How many other boats, other crews, other families torn apart by something we can't explain? How many disappearances have been covered up, explained away, buried under official lies? I don't have those answers, but I know this. We share this universe with something else. something far more advanced than us, something that can take us whenever it wants, for whatever purpose it serves, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it. Antonio, Carlos, Manuel, wherever you are, I hope you found your way home. I hope you're at peace. And to anyone watching this, the next time you see a light in the sky that doesn't move like it should, the next time you hear about a boat found adrift with no crew, the next time someone tells you they saw something impossible, believe them, because they're probably telling the truth, and the truth is terrifying. That's what happened over the Canary Islands on June 22, 1976. The official Spanish Air Force investigation concluded it was an unidentified aerial phenomenon witnessed by hundreds of credible observers, including military personnel, doctors, teachers, and civilian witnesses across multiple islands. But the 3 fishermen who disappeared that night beneath the halo were erased from history. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe, because next week I'm covering the Rendlesham Forest incident, the UFO encounter that both the US and UK governments tried to bury for 40 years, involving nuclear weapons facilities and military personnel who were never the same after what they witnessed in those woods.